The hoop snake, Appalachia's most documented cryptid for 2 centuries, witnesses across Appalachia describe the same impossible serpent that rolls like a wheel and strikes with its tail. Deep in the hollows and ridges of the southern Appalachian Mountains, where ancient forests still guard their secrets and oral tradition preserves knowledge passed down through generations, accounts of an impossible creature persist with remarkable consistency. The hoop snake, a serpent that takes its tail in its mouth, forms itself into a living wheel and rolls in pursuit of prey before delivering a lethal sting from a horn in its tail. Represents one of the most thoroughly documented and persistently reported anomalous animals in North American folklore and natural history. Unlike fleeting monster legends or singular cryptid sightings, the hoop snake tradition spans 2 centuries of continuous documentation across multiple independent communities throughout the southern and central Appalachian region. From the 18th century through the 20th, witnesses from communities separated by mountain ranges and generations report encounters with striking consistency of detail. The creature they describe behaves in ways that contradict everything known about North American serpent species, yet the precision and uniformity of these accounts demands serious examination. The tradition comes to modern attention primarily through the work of 2 distinguished folklorists who dedicated their careers to documenting Appalachian oral tradition. Vance Randolph, whose extensive fieldwork captured the vernacular culture of the Ozarks and Southern Appalachians, collected multiple hoop snake accounts from informants who presented their experiences not as tall tales or campfire stories, but as genuine wildlife encounters. Leonard Roberts, whose scholarly work similarly preserved Appalachian folk knowledge, documented parallel accounts from informants in different communities who had never encountered one another's testimony. What distinguishes these collections from typical folklore is the nature of the testimony itself. Randolph and Roberts both encountered informants who claimed direct personal witness to hoop snake behavior. These were not stories heard from a friend of a friend, not legends passed down from ancestors, but first-hand accounts from individuals who described specific encounters with what they believed to be a genuine animal native to their mountain environment. The physical description remains consistent across accounts separated by geography and time. The hoop snake appears as a serpent of conventional appearance when at rest, distinguished primarily by a distinctive horn or spike at the end of its tail rather than the head. This horn serves as the creature's weapon, not the fangs typical of venomous snakes, but a tail-mounted stinger that witnesses describe as capable of delivering lethal venom. The behavior that gives the creature its name presents the central impossibility. Witnesses describe the snake taking its own tail into its mouth, forming its body into a perfect hoop or wheel. In this configuration, the creature rolls, not merely tumbles down slopes as some conventional snakes might accidentally do, but deliberately propels itself in controlled rolling motion, gaining considerable speed as it pursues prey or descends hillsides. The consistency of this behavioral description across independent accounts is notable. Witnesses describe the rolling motion in specific detail, the snake maintaining its circular form, the speed increasing on downward slopes, the creature able to navigate terrain in this wheeled configuration. Multiple informants describe being pursued by rolling hoop snakes, recounting their terror as the circular serpent gained ground behind them. The attack method adds another layer of consistent detail. According to the documented accounts, the hoop snake releases its tail from its mouth when close enough to strike. The creature then lashes forward, driving the horn at the tip of its tail into its target with enough force to penetrate flesh and deliver venom. Witnesses who claim to have seen hoop snake attacks on livestock describe the stricken animals perishing rapidly after being struck, suggesting a toxin of extraordinary potency. Natural historians who have examined these accounts inevitably reach the same conclusion. No known North American snake species exhibits these characteristics. No serpent possesses a tail, horn, or spike. No snake demonstrates the anatomical capability to maintain the muscular tension required to hold its tail in its mouth, while simultaneously propelling itself in controlled rolling motion. The behavior described is, according to conventional herpetology, physically impossible. Yet this scientific impossibility does not resolve the fundamental question the accounts present. The hoop snake tradition is not an isolated report or a singular community legend. It represents a geographically distributed pattern of consistent testimony spanning 200 years. Communities separated by mountain ranges, connected by neither regular communication nor shared informants, produce accounts that align in specific detail. The rolling behavior, the tail horn, the lethal sting, the method of evasion, all these elements appear with remarkable uniformity. Several theories attempt to explain the persistence of these accounts within a conventional framework. One suggests that witnesses observe genuine snake behavior but misinterpret what they see. Some snake species, when threatened, engage in rolling escape behavior, throwing their bodies into coils that might, at a glance, suggest intentional wheeling motion. The mud snake and rainbow snake, both native to parts of the Appalachian Range, possess stiff-pointed tails that might, under certain circumstances, be mistaken for horns or stingers. This explanation addresses certain elements, but fails to account for the specificity and consistency of witness testimony. Informants who claimed direct observation described not panicked serpents accidentally tumbling, but deliberate, controlled rolling. They described not brief defensive postures, but sustained pursuit over considerable distances. They described not stiff tail scales, but distinct horns that penetrated flesh and delivered venom. Another theory suggests the hoop snake represents culturally transmitted knowledge encoded in literal narrative form. According to this interpretation, the rolling wheel serpent serves as a metaphorical warning about real snake danger, elaborated through storytelling into a specific, impossible creature. The tradition thus preserves practical knowledge. Snakes are dangerous. Snakes can move with surprising speed. Snake encounters require evasion within a memorable narrative framework. Yet this explanation similarly struggles with the nature of the documented testimony. Folklorists Randolph and Roberts were trained observers capable of distinguishing between metaphorical storytelling and claimed witness testimony. Their informants presented hoop snake accounts as genuine wildlife encounters, described with the specificity and conviction characteristic of actual experience rather than inherited narrative. The question of the hoop snake's reality thus remains unresolved. Either multiple independent witnesses across 2 centuries consistently misidentified or misinterpreted conventional snake behavior in precisely the same way, or they encountered something that conventional zoology cannot explain. The tradition itself provides insight into Appalachian approaches to anomalous wildlife encounters. Unlike many cryptid traditions where the creature remains perpetually elusive, hoop snake accounts include practical information about evasion and survival. Informants describe the creature's limitations. While rolling, the hoop snake cannot easily change direction. A person pursued by a rolling hoop snake can survive by dodging perpendicular to its path, forcing the creature to stop, reform, and build momentum again. This practical survival knowledge, consistently documented across accounts, suggests a tradition based on repeated encounters rather than singular legendary events. Communities do not develop specific evasion techniques for purely imaginary threats. The precision of this protective knowledge implies accumulated experience with a genuine phenomenon, even if that phenomenon remains unidentified. No hoop snake has ever been captured. No specimen exists in any natural history collection. No photographic or physical evidence confirms the creature's existence. Yet the absence of physical proof does not explain the consistent pattern of testimony. The hoop snake remains documented in account after account, community after community, generation after generation. Natural historians who have dismissed the hoop snake tradition have generally done so based on the absence of specimens and the impossibility of the described behavior within known snake physiology. What these dismissals typically fail to address is the central puzzle. Why does this specific impossible animal appear so consistently across independent communities and time periods? Why do the accounts align in precise detail? Why do witnesses describe not vague serpentine monsters, but a creature with specific behaviors, specific anatomy, and specific limitations? The hoop snake tradition occupies an unusual position in cryptozoology and folklore studies. It is too consistent and too specific to dismiss as simple legend, yet too impossible to accommodate within conventional natural history. It represents either a remarkable case of culturally transmitted misidentification, maintaining precise consistency across vast geographic and temporal range, or evidence of an anomalous phenomenon that conventional science has not adequately investigated. The documentation continues. Even in the late 20th century, Appalachian communities preserve hoop snake accounts. The tradition has not faded with modern education or scientific literacy. Instead, it persists as part of the region's natural history knowledge, passed down alongside accurate information about conventional wildlife. The southern Appalachian Mountains remain a landscape where old knowledge survives, where oral tradition preserves information that written science has not fully catalogued, where the distinction between natural and supernatural remains less absolute than contemporary culture typically assumes. In these ancient hills, the hoop snake rolls through accounts and testimony, challenging the boundaries of accepted zoology and demanding more serious investigation than dismissal. If you found this case compelling, subscribe to Vanishing Roads for more documented paranormal investigations from around the world. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.